Hello everyone, so I will be doing a book review. I usually don't do like single book reviews unless I feel really strongly about a book, good or bad, and this book I have very strong feelings about in a good way. I absolutely loved this book. And that book is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is like a fantasy book about Linus Baker, who works as a caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. So his job is to go to these orphanages which hold children who are magical. So that's either if they have like powers or they are a magical creature. And he sees if this orphanage is doing well. So are they protecting the kids, and are they keeping the kids contained where they're not hurting other people? And he writes a case report and determines if that orphanage should stay open. One day he is summoned to the extremely upper management department and he is given a classified case. He has never heard of this island or this orphanage before, and once he gets to the island, he reads the case files, and he becomes so scared that he faints when he reads about this certain child. And that child is Lucy, the Antichrist. So he understands why he's never heard of this orphanage and why it's such a classified assignment. At first, he's very distant from the children. He just wants to do his job, and doing so, he has to stay impartial so as to not become connected with these children. But after a while, it was hard for him not to connect with these children. So one of the main reasons that I absolutely loved this book is because of the characters. Like, there wasn't a bad character that I did not like. I mean, there's certain, like, background characters that I don't even remember. Like, they were just, like, townspeople and stuff that are awful people. But, I mean, the main characters, I loved them all. At first, Linus was a very timid caseworker. He wasn't necessarily unhappy, but he wasn't a happy character. He just kind of went to work, and then that's it, and went home to his cat. He wasn't close to any of the workers. They kind of didn't like him because of his weight. So main focus was his job. But when he gets to the island, that's where he really blossoms, and you get to know Linus on a much deeper level. And once Linus starts really falling in love with these children is when you do also, because he gets so close with them, and you just see that each child has a unique personality. Like, one child really wants to be a bellhop, and that's such a strange thing to do when your child is to be a bellhop, but he gets such pleasure from helping Linus with his suitcases, and he does his laundry, and he gets such joy when Linus tips him or says he's doing such a great job. He gets so happy, and it's so cute. Then there is a gnome who takes such pride in the garden, and they are very sassy. They keep threatening Linus to bury him in the garden, but in such an endearing way. And then there's Lucy, the Antichrist, who jokes around about, like, ending the world, but when he has his spells and, like, things shake and, like, things happen, he genuinely feels so terrible. He's so afraid of hurting somebody. So he kind of masks that by making jokes about it, because he knows, like, people are afraid of him, that he could end the world. And so he kind of makes jokes about it, which is cute, and you kind of feel sad for him because it must be a hard life thinking that you could hurt somebody that you love. I have such a fondness for these characters. You really feel for them because they just want a home. And they know that Linus is here to determine if they will no longer have this home, and so they are very frightened. They, like, constantly try to get him to be like, no, we love this place, like, because they know the feeling of not being wanted, that they could lose their home at any minute, and that's so sad, and you just want to just love these characters. There are two major themes in this book, and that's, like, prejudice and acceptance. that this world magic isn't really accepted. So the kids are in like an orphanage, but it is nothing like an orphanage because they know these kids are not going to be adopted. This is going to be their home until they're older, and each magical person is registered because they fear them and don't know what they're capable of. The townspeople on the island all get paid to keep quiet about these orphanages, and they do so, and they're fine with it because none of the children have come onto the island in town. They just kind of stay in their orphanage. So they think the money's worth it. But Linus brings them out. He thinks it's good for these kids to see the outside world because one day they're going to have to join it. And they got to know that there are certain things they can't do because people don't like them. And when they do get to town, it's very sad because while there are some people that accept him, like the guy at the music store and like the mayor, but they try to get like ice cream or something, can't remember, but the one guy refused to serve them. And then this one child was like going to play with one of the children, but then the mom grabbed him away. And so they really get a sense of like, okay, yeah, these people do not want us here. And Linus never really thought about how magical people are treated. He kind of just does his job and go home. Like, he knows that they're not really accepted because magic isn't really accepted, but he never really notices like the hatred people have. He just started to notice that throughout town there are posters that say, if you see something, say something, and that's about the magical people. And that's like our country with terrorism, like, so it's like horrible that, you know, this is how they see the kids because they don't know them. They don't try to get to know them. They think they're magic. That's it. We don't like them. But with this prejudice comes acceptance. Linus really helps the kids accept themselves, even though many people are afraid of them. He like boosts their confidence because they get to see more people now, and yes, people hate them, but they know they're capable of overcoming it. They know that they are not the bad ones. They just hate something because they don't understand it. And Linus did get some people to change their minds about magical creatures, and they even took the signs down during the town. And as much as Linus helped the kids accept themselves, the kids helped Linus accept himself. Like, he was very down on himself. He did not think he deserved love. He's overweight and just he doesn't feel highly about himself because people at work treated him badly, and so he saw himself as that way. But the kids loved him for who he is. And he realized the people at work didn't know who he was, but these kids do, and they love him for who he is. And so he realizes that, you know, there must be something great about me, and I think that's beautiful. So I really thought this book was beautiful. It kind of reminded me at first of like Miss Pettigrew's Home for Peculiar Children, because it's like an orphanage with magical kids, but I found this one so much better. So if you kind of liked the idea of Miss Pettigrew's but didn't really like that book, I think you would love this book. It's much more light-hearted. I felt so happy while reading this book, and I listened to part of the audiobook, and the audiobook is amazing, so I recommend either one, read it or listen to it. Both fantastic. I really liked that this is like an adult fantasy book, but it didn't feel that way. Like, it did have adult themes, and it was written very well, but it felt like not young adult, maybe like middle grade series like Percy Jackson, but for adults. And I loved that. Because sometimes high fantasy, adult fantasy is hard to get through, and it does have like sometimes adult content, but this one, not at all. It's just a feel-good book, and I highly recommend it. I gave it a 5-star rating on Goodreads. This will probably be one of my top favorite books, definitely for this year. Just read it. So like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!